The popular notion, especially in today's polarized political climate, is that people in the South are poor, racist, dumb, ignorant, illiterate, and poor, especially in the antebellum South before the Civil War, the late 1800s. But if you study the history of that region, you will come to a different conclusion. The reason I think this is so prevalent is because most of our information comes from the big six corporations who own the music industry, who own the entertainment industry, who own the news media. And because of that, you have to factor in their location. Most entertainment companies are in California or New York, and most newspapers are in Washington. Therefore, they don't have any interaction with people in the South. When you're ignorant of a region, you're ignorant of its history, then you portray them as something that they're not. In studying the history of this region, I found a few interesting things that you will not hear in public school or the mainstream media. And the funny thing is, I grew up in Tennessee most of my life. I lived in Kentucky for a period of time. In history class, they want to portray the South as dumb, poor, illiterate, that was saved by the amazing, can do no wrong North. So even in my location of Tennessee, they're teaching us Southerners to hate our history, hate our traditions, and to move away from them. But here is a few facts, because I'm from the South, I got to speak correctly, right? Here are a few facts that I found interesting. Edmund Ruffin of Virginia was a pioneer in soil rejuvenation. Dr. Rush Nutt of Rodney, Mississippi, developed a branch of cotton that was resistant to rot, as well as an improved cotton gin. Also, Southerners innovated plant genetics and crop rotation. A Southerner invented the Gatling gun. Texas Rangers designed the Colt revolver. Brigadier General Gabriel Rains developed the landmine. Other Southern innovations included ironclads, submarines, electronically detonated mines, and a workable machine gun. In 1861, Confederate Captain R.S. Williams of Covington, Kentucky, invented the first machine gun used in combat. It was manufactured by an ironworks company of Richmond, Virginia. It was a 1-pound steel breech loaded with a 4-foot-long barrel and a 2-inch bore. It was mounted on a 2-wheel carriage and operated by a lever attached by a revolving cam, which was an ammunition hopper. It had a range of 2,000 yards. One Southerner, William C. Powers, an agriculture engineer in Mobile, Alabama, designed a helicopter in 1862 and even constructed an experimental model, although there is no record of it flying. So you can make the case that, okay, these are a few intelligent individuals. What about the majority of the population? The literacy rate of the Old South was 91.73%, right at 92%. Now that was lower than New England, who was at 99%, right at 100, and the Northwest, 95%. But it was higher than the male population of Great Britain at 74.4%. And if you just factor in the Old South's white literacy rate, because, African Americans were not taught how to read, it was higher than every country in Europe except Sweden and Denmark. Now, what about the South being poor? Well, in 1860, it was more prosperous than the West, the North, or New England. Of the top 11 states per capita, if you factor in income, 6 were Southern. Mississippi actually was the wealthiest state. Louisiana was the second wealthiest state. Half the millionaires in the United States lived in New Orleans, and 1/3 of all American millionaires lived in or near Mississippi. So the literacy rate, the wealth, and the innovation in the South is not as it's portrayed in the media. I think it's funny when these British people want to make fun of us Southerners when our literacy rate for white males back in the day was higher than theirs. Not to mention we kicked their ass multiple times. in the Revolution and the War of 1812. So I'm not one for classism. I'm not one for all of these other factors. I'm just one for accuracy. And the fact that these corporations lie to you out of ignorance or out of spite should mean that you do not trust them for accurate information.